It's about 50 miles from the capital of that country. It's called Sotocano. The United States has been at this base in Honduras for decades. The largest U.S. military task force in Central America operates out of this base. This is the base where U.S. presidents and vice presidents have flown into and been received by Honduran officials for more than 40 years. Sotocano is a big part of America's military footprint in Central America, but it is not technically an American base. The base belongs to Honduras, and the U.S. just uses it under a longstanding agreement with that country's government. Well, just a few days ago, in a New Year's Day address to her country, the president of Honduras said that the United States is not going to be able to use that anymore. She said, if Donald Trump starts mass deportations of immigrants when he takes office, Honduras effectively reserves the right to kick the U.S. military out of that base, which has more than 1,000 U.S. personnel at it right now, and that we've been using for decades. She said, quote, faced with a hostile attitude of mass expulsion of our brothers, we would have to consider a change in our policies of cooperation with the United States, especially in the military arena. Without paying a cent for decades, they maintain military bases in our territory, which in this case would lose all reason to exist in Honduras. That news from Honduras comes on the heels of some other really interesting news from the Vatican. Today, Pope Francis appointed a new archbishop for Washington, D.C. Now, Washington, D.C. is not the biggest Catholic diocese in the country, but it is very influential for all the obvious reasons. And for this very influential post, Pope Francis chose Cardinal Robert McElroy. Cardinal McElroy is known as an outspoken defender of immigrants. In 2016, for example, after Donald Trump was first elected, McElroy said if the new Trump administration was going to embark upon the pathway of massive deportation, then, quote, the Catholic community must move immediately to wide-scale opposition, and we must move with the same energy, commitment, and immediacy that have characterized Catholic opposition on the issues of abortion and religious liberty in recent years. Of Trump's threats to do mass deportations, McElroy said, quote, the church can never acquiesce or cooperate with such a grave evil in our society. Quote, we must label this policy proposal for what it is, an act of injustice which would stain our national honor in the same manner as the progressive dispossessions of the Native American peoples of the United States and the internment of the Japanese. Welcome back to Washington, President Trump. That's your new archbishop. The closer we get to Inauguration Day, the more we are learning about the character of the pushback that is materializing against what Trump says he wants to do. That list also includes one state attorney general who now says there's a very specific part of what Trump has threatened to do that he's already planning his fight against. The president-elect has been talking up his first day plans for a while now, long enough to compile a day one to-do list that is dozens of items long. 59 boxes to check on day one, according to a list compiled by Axios. End the Russia-Ukraine war, day one. Nearly 3 years of grinding conflict. Trump says he will settle it in a day. Also, pardon the people who attacked the Capitol on January 6th, day one. He says he'll get going on that in the first 9 minutes. Begin mass deportations, day one. Round up at least 11 million people living in the United States. Also, end birthright citizenship. Birthright citizenship is the idea that if you're born here, you're a citizen. It's something that isn't just a basic idea about who's an American. It's explicitly and indelibly in the Constitution. But Trump says he plans to just cancel that. Day one. That is being met with the promise of a fight from one state's top law enforcement official, from the Attorney General of Connecticut. Attorney General William Tong saying, quote, I would be the first to sue. It is beyond clear what the law states. Joining us now is William Tong, Attorney General of the great state of Connecticut. Mr. Attorney General, thanks for your time tonight.
Thanks, Rachel.
So what was it about this day one pledge, this birthright citizenship pledge that Trump is making that grabbed your attention?
Well, it's very personal for me and millions of Americans. Like millions of Americans, My parents came here with nothing. My dad had 57 cents left in his pocket, to be exact, when he arrived in Hartford, Connecticut. They opened a Chinese restaurant, and when I was born, they were not yet citizens. I was the first American born in my immediate family. And in one generation, I've gone from working with my parents in our hot Chinese restaurant kitchen to being the attorney general of our state. And that was all made possible by the right of my birth, the right to be an American citizen, a right that it's given me an opportunity to have the education, the employment opportunities, the jobs that I've had that have given me the opportunity to run for office. It is the enduring promise of America. It's what Ronald Reagan referred to, birthright citizenship, as a part of our essential character, and it's core to the American dream.
Trump seems to think that he can undo it with some sort of executive action, despite the fact that birthright citizenship is in the Constitution. How do you expect this fight to unfold if he tries to do what he says he's going to try?
Well, I know my fellow attorneys general are committed to stopping him. We're going to be a firewall for the American people, for immigrants, for not just on immigration, but also reproductive freedom, for the environment, against gun violence. We are going to use the law as a sword, and as my friend Tish James says, also as a shield, protect our states. And the 14th Amendment is very clear. If you're a conservative, if you're an originalist, if you're a textualist, the 14th Amendment means what it says, that if you're born on American soil or under the jurisdiction of the United States of America, you're an American, period. And the Supreme Court confirmed that in Wong Kim Mark, a celebrated Supreme Court case, more than 125 years ago.
There is an ugly and underappreciated history in this country of trying to strip people of their citizenship when they come under fire by one political faction or another. It has never succeeded before. I have a feeling we'll be seeing you and your fellow attorneys general fighting another successful fight along these lines, sir. But keep in touch with us as this unfolds. I'll be eager to see how the strategy works here.
Thank you, Rachel.
Connecticut Attorney General William